the cool thing about Santevia is that we're filtering contaminants, and we're also adding back healthy minerals. Amazon is now a place where people go and do product research, an unlock of profit. And that's the first thing that you have to do if you want to be a serious e-com business. If you want to get a little bit sneaky, you can charge maybe $1 or $2 more on Amazon so that it just kind of incentivizes the customer to come to your own direct-to-consumer site.
Hey Matthew, welcome to the DTC Daily Podcast. How are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm doing well. Yeah.
So before we jump into the conversation, can you tell our audience a little bit more about your business?
Sure, of course, yeah. So Santevia, we're a water filtration brand. So we're a health and wellness brand located in Canada. And the cool thing about Santevia is that we're filtering contaminants, but then we're also adding back healthy minerals. So all of our products first filter out the bad stuff that could be in your water. So there might be lead in your water. There's almost definitely chlorine in your water. And then any number of other contaminants. So Santevia filters out over 90 contaminants. But then we go a lot further and we do something that no other brands do. We then add back healthy minerals. So we're adding back calcium, magnesium, and potassium. And the reason why we do this is twofold. We do it because it makes the water taste a lot better. So when you add these healthy minerals, it actually adds a nice flavor to your water. So you'll want to drink more water. And we also do it because those minerals, you might have heard of things called electrolytes. Well, electrolytes are just that, minerals, calcium, magnesium, potassium. And your body needs electrolytes to really survive and thrive. And so we want to add back all these healthy minerals like calcium, magnesium, and potassium. And that's what the second stage of every single one of our water filters does. So we add back these healthy things. We started in 2008, actually. And we're actually a family business. So my family started the business about, 17 years ago now.
So what would you say has been the single largest driver of growth for your business? Like what was that one decision or one strategy that, or, the one thing that you've done that, driven the growth for your business?
Good question. Well, there's in any business, there's so many growth drivers. Growth drivers has been really key for us. So like I said, this is a family business. It was started by my parents in 2008, and they started in retail. In 2008, online shopping wasn't really even a thing. It was, but not in a huge way. Most people obviously shopped in retail stores. Any consumer packaged goods brand was probably like 95% retail, maybe 5% direct to consumer. And I remember when they first started the business, I would help them pick and pack orders. And, we would pack 2, 3, 4 orders, bring them to the post office, send them off. And now we're doing hundreds and hundreds of orders a day, and we have a truck that comes to our fulfillment studio that's just what happens every single day. So our fulfillment center is operating all the time. We're always picking and packing and sending things out. So just like that has been such a large transition and has been obviously a part of a larger trend of e-commerce shopping. And so in that, yes, e-commerce has been the largest growth driver for us. And that's been us really doubling and tripling down on Shopify, on Facebook advertising, meta advertising, brand awareness, and really trying to build and define this funnel, this sales funnel online. We've been really lucky that we've been able to do that with a strong retail presence at our back. And so that's really helped us figure out how to do this online thing. And so that transition started in 2019.
And what would you say is a bigger channel for you? Is it your own Shopify store, or is it Amazon or some other marketplace?
It's really interesting. So if you would have asked me 3 years ago, Amazon was bigger. Now our direct-to-consumer channel is actually larger. However, Amazon has been a fantastic growth channel for us and still is today. I think that if it suits your brand, that Amazon is a no-brainer. when we first launched on online, we looked at Amazon as a competitor. It was a competitor because we thought that there was only a pool of customers, maybe 100 customers, and if we were to go onto Amazon, they would take 20 of those customers and sell it through their channel. But if they didn't exist and we didn't sell on Amazon, we'd sell to those same 100 customers anyways. They would just come to our direct-to-consumer channels, or they would find us in retail. But that has changed completely because Amazon is now a place where people go and do product research because they like to shop on Amazon. I like to shop on Amazon. It's a good experience. It's familiar. I know what a product display page looks like on Amazon. I know what the shipping's going to be like. I know the customer service. My credit card's already in there. It's just easy, right? I know the driver knows where my house is, and I know where they know that they know where to leave the package too. So the whole experience is nice, seamless, and I'm familiar with it. And so when I go to find a product, I do product research on Amazon. And so somewhere, I would say probably in 2017, 2018, we started to think of Amazon as a place where we could find customers. And also Amazon has an ad network, right? So it actually allows you to advertise on Amazon. So when somebody types in a keyword that's relevant to your business, in our case, it might be water filter or mineralized water filter, that we show up. And so we've actually been able to really use Amazon as a key growth driver. Again, thinking of what is that key growth driver? Well, I can put an input in. In this case, it's advertising dollars to Amazon, and I can get an output out, which is new products, new customers, and selling a higher volume of product month on month, year on year. So yeah, Amazon's been fantastic.
And just to dive a little deeper into the entire Amazon strategy that you guys implemented back in 2019, what were the early days like when you just got onto Amazon? Could you just walk us through your thought process on how you went about with the product listing? What point did you start ads? Were you running ads on Meta and driving that to Amazon, or were you just running ads within Amazon?
Totally, yeah, it's a good question. So when we first started on Amazon, there were lots of players there because we weren't the first one to realize that you could sell on Amazon. And so many of our retailers that carried Santevia products were already on Amazon and they were selling our products. And so you had this really fractured space on Amazon where if you typed in Santevia, you'd find, 10, 20, 30 different players all selling our products for different prices. They had, weird imagery, old images, new images, a mixture of both. And I remember reading like some of our listings, especially for our gravity water system, which was for a long time our flagship product. And it would say things in the product description that weren't even relevant to the product. Like it would say it's like 120 volts. It's like, well, our product doesn't even plug into the wall. Like it doesn't even use electricity. Why are you saying that it requires 120 volts? And that's just because these people didn't really care about our brand in the same way that we did. They were listing 1,000 products, all of the products that their store carried on Amazon as a growth driver, right? They were looking for a growth driver too. And so that didn't really work for us. And so what we wanted to do, of course, was clean that up. And so at the time, we were on something called Vendor Central. When you sell on Amazon, there's two different ways that you can go into Amazon. You can sell on Vendor Central, which is an invite-only platform, or you can sell on Seller Central. Anyone can start a Seller Central account. Now, Vendor Central has some definite pros, the biggest of which is that you get a purchase order from Amazon. They buy that inventory from you. They own it. And then the whole job of advertising, of managing inventory, all of that is all covered by them. It's almost like a retailer relationship. The big downside is because they own that inventory, that also means that they can set price. And so if you're a unique product and you're not a commoditized good, that doesn't necessarily work for you. And it didn't work for us because what we noticed is that we had, for example, a flagship product like our gravity water system that had a $200 MSRP, a retail price, a suggested retail price of $200, but Amazon would sometimes run it for like $189 or $179. And so we would reach out to them and we would say, hey, you guys, you have to stop selling for $179 because you're undercutting our own direct-to-consumer site, you're undercutting our retailers, everybody's upset. And you can imagine that Jeff Bezos, he couldn't even pick up the phone because he was too busy on his pickleball court on his yacht, like we were so small. There's just no way that you can speak to somebody at Amazon who can make any decision. We got the whole runaround, like, hey, you know what? It's the algorithm. It's not our fault. We can't do anything. Blah blah blah. Right? So, that was frustrating. It was frustrating our retail partners, and it wasn't conducive to building a brand. And that's what we wanted to be doing, is kind of defining our brand, building a strong brand. And a big part of that is marketing and setting that, that price consistency. So because of that, what we had to do is make a decision to move from vendor central to seller central. Seller central just means that you consign the inventory to Amazon. So I'm not selling anything to Amazon. All I'm doing is basically taking my product, sending it to an Amazon fulfillment center. They'll keep inventory of it and they'll do the fulfillment for me. But I'm setting the price, and also I'm going to be doing the advertising. And so we basically set about doing this transition, but man, was it painful, because the transition from going from vendor to seller central means that you have to first sell through all of that inventory that vendor currently owns. So you're selling through that. And at the same time, you don't want there to be like a lapse where your customers can't buy your product on Amazon. So you're also sending inventory to Seller Central that's not moving because Vendor Central is still selling through their inventory. And so that period actually took almost like eight months. So 8 months of much lower revenue for us as a business on one of our largest sales channels was really painful. And every day I had to like wake up and remind myself, like, no, okay, I did the math. This does make sense. Like, I didn't make a mistake here, because our revenue month on month was like super low during this transition period. So the cool thing, though, is that over time, we started to see some of these listings, right? Each product listing has its own inventory, and some of these listings would sell through on vendor, and then it would start to sell on Seller Central, and you see a little revenue kick. And that would be kind of like a little hit of dopamine to say, oh yeah, like, okay, this is going to work. Like, it actually makes sense. We didn't just lose all these customers and all these sales. They're still there. They're just buying from different pools of inventory. So that was a tough thing, but then brought along the second challenge. So we were on Seller Central, but we still had this really fractured market with all these different retailers selling on our listings. And so that was really hard for us, because we had to go one by one and reach out to these retailers with an updated MAP policy, a purchase policy, and say, hey, we're no longer going to allow you to sell on marketplaces, Amazon being one of them, but there's many other marketplaces too, like Walmart.com, every other marketplace, to a lesser extent, eBay's and Etsy's, all these sort of things. So that was tough, because some of these retailers actually were making a lot of their sales on Amazon. We had 2 retailers specifically that were large accounts doing high 6 figures a year with us, and cutting them off from Amazon was essentially going to send their sales to zero. So you can imagine that those retailers weren't happy. At the same time, the sales reps that were working with those accounts weren't happy either, right? And these are our sales reps. These are our sales reps who, are really working with these accounts, have fostered them. And then we're basically saying like, hey, you're no longer going to get your huge commission check from this account. But at the same time, if you think about it, like logically, we were selling to some of these people to first a distributor. The distributor was going to sell through a sales rep to a retailer. That retailer was then going to sell to Amazon. Amazon was then going to sell to a customer, right? There's like so many middlemen there, so many people in the way of a sale, when really it should have just been Santevia consigning to Amazon, not even selling to Amazon, who is then shipping to the customer. So there was all of this like hidden value there, which was fantastic because it drove incredible revenue, just because we weren't selling any longer at distributor dollars. We were selling at full MSRP to the customer, and an unlock of profit because we didn't have all these people who were paying a profit margin to along the way. So that really set the stage for us to take back ownership of our e-commerce landscape. And that's the first thing that you have to do if you want to be a serious e-com business. You have to own it. You have to command it, and you have to let everybody know that you can partner with us, but there's some hard lines. When you sell online, you have to make sure that you're at full MSRP. You're not competing with us. You don't have retailers who are bidding on your keywords, your branded keywords. Like, these are just things where you're fighting yourself. And really, there's so much market space out there that you don't want to fight yourself. You want to expand as much as you can. So my long-winded answer of kind of how that process, that Amazon transition happened, started from a very fractured place, a place where we didn't know much, all the way through. It took a year to get us to a spot where we actually owned Amazon, could update all those listings, and created, I think, what's today a pretty good product experience and consumer journey on Amazon for Santevia.
And could you just walk me through how you've gone about optimizing your listings? Like, because you obviously mentioned that retailers were using a lot of the old images, some of the product descriptions didn't match. How did you go from there to where you are today, where obviously you've, could you also talk about any of the A/B testing that you've done along the way and how you've arrived at what the listing is today?
Yeah, great question. I mean, there's so many inputs on Amazon that can make it successful. And that could be the product display page. It could be the product ratings. It can be how much inventory you have. It can be the price of your products, and so many other things too. It can be your seller profile rating, your inventory health. These are all different things that influence how performance you will be on Amazon. More and more, Amazon has become like a pay-to-play space. You have to advertise a lot today, I think, to be very successful and to build up that product ranking, because there are so many products and there's so much competition on Amazon. So what I would say, if you don't know what you're doing on Amazon, you have to learn a lot. And the best way, I think, to learn quickly for a brand is to partner with an agency. So we partnered with an Amazon agency initially, and that's when we had transitioned to Seller Central. So we had it all back. It was ours. And then we thought, okay, now it's time to supercharge it. So we have to learn, and we want to move fast. There's only so many months and days in a year, and every single day you have to achieve something, or else at the end of the year you haven't really gotten that far. And moreover, if you do something every single day and that's the wrong thing to do, then you're just going to be like turning around in circles and not really getting anywhere. And so partnering with somebody who not only can do the work, but also knows the right work to be done is really important. And so we partnered with an agency who had specific Amazon experience and who had done it before. And that was a really good learning for us, because they introduced us to a lot of stuff from all the key inputs on Amazon. But they also introduced us to some software tools that, if you're on Amazon, are probably things that you should be using. And those software tools look at things like keywords on Amazon. It's going to look at competitor rankings and a lot of stuff that you can't really see on the surface. Like some of these tools can even tell you how much inventory your competitors have. So that was a really good learning for us. What I found on Amazon is that First off is that you have to have really good product imagery. So ensuring that you have enough imagery, like 5, 6 images, and that those images are really clarifying the key points of your product, right? So product benefits, and the reason why is people don't read. And so if you might put your feature benefits inside of the PDP, like inside of the product display page. However, people may not actually read the 5 bullet points that there are on that product display page. And so let's take those key ones and put them into the images and try and make them visual so that people, while they're scrolling on Amazon, they go through a couple of your photos and they're like, oh yeah, those are like some of those things that I really need. And then maybe they'll add it to cart. So playing around with those images and then making changes. We were making changes about every 1 month to 2 months to set a baseline. We wanted to ensure enough people were coming to the page so we could really see how performant it was. But then, really ensuring that you're following best practices for those images. The next step is then looking specifically at what keywords you're ranking for on Amazon and making sure that you're taking those keywords and stuffing them into that product display page in a way that still has a good customer experience. Because it's important that you don't keyword stuff in a way that makes the product display page illegible or not make sense. Because if you do that, then the customer experience is gone. It's kind of I always think of Amazon and really any algorithm as a fine line between how can I give the algorithm as much as it wants while also not detracting from the customer experience, because it's a fine line. At the end of the day, you might have a ton of people come to your page, but if the customer experience sucks, there's still a human on their phone or on their computer going through that product display page, and you have to convey information and value to them. And so you have to be able to do that. It has to be a good experience. So no amount of keywords is going to make them want to buy something. It has to be a good experience. Images, I think, are super key. Everybody's going through images. They want to see the product for sure. You know what's super important and the hardest thing to really change quickly is reviews. So reviews are king on Amazon. You have to make sure that you're responding to these reviews, actually taking action on your product. So if you have a poor review, take it seriously, see why. And if that's something that you can change, if it's a product packaging issue and you're seeing that consistently, go ahead and change that product and do it as quickly as possible, because you have to think about the long tail of distribution here. If you're working with your manufacturer, and let's say you have a packaging issue on one of your products, imagine how long it's going to take to make that change to get it into the hands of your customers, and how many potential negative reviews you're going to incur before you can make a change. So somebody says, hey, your package wasn't sealed properly. Okay, so that's an issue. So we have to take that. We have to look at the core reason as to why that happened. Then we have to go to our manufacturer. We have to work with them to figure out how they can change the packaging. We're working with our internal engineers and our product team to be able to do that. We then manufacture it. We get it into our head office. We're doing all the QA QC. We then send that to Amazon. It's been months by this time, then Amazon's going to sell through all the inventory they already have. And then finally it's going to get out to customers, and that's just going to remove people won't even notice and say give you a positive review and say, hey, the packaging is so much better. No, because they never knew what the previous version of the packaging was. You're just now removing any potential negative reviews you're going to get. So acting quickly on product design issues is super key.
And again, you said it's difficult to get reviews, right? Because again, I would assume that when customers have a problem with your product, they're going to run and write a review. But if they're happy with the product, most people don't generally go out. If let's say 100 people were happy with your product, probably 20 would go out and put a positive review. But if 100 people hated your product, probably 80 would go and write a negative review. So how do you deal with that issue? Because even I don't think I've ever gone and put a positive review, but if I've had a bad experience, I've always spoken about it, and I'm guessing there are a lot of people who do that. So what do you suggest is the best way for someone to go out and actually get reviews?
Yeah, it is a tough one, and Amazon is very locked down when it comes to reviews because there's a lot of brands who have tried to game reviews. I wouldn't suggest it. It's, you could lose your account if you're caught doing something that's against their terms of service, and you can't incentivize reviews. You can't ask for positive reviews. You can't somehow route away negative reviews. You can ask for reviews though. You can say, hey, please leave us your unbiased review. So that can be a good way to do it. Just carte blanche, ask for a review, and then there's some portion of people who will leave a review. Some of those will be negative, some of those will be positive, but at least if you ask for a review, you're probably going to help remind or get those people who would leave a positive review to actually take action. Whereas if you don't do that, then it will just be the people who are upset, and then they're going to leave a review irrespective of if you've asked for a review or not, right? So I would just say ask for that review, unbiased review, and then you're going to have that that expected proportionality of positive reviews to negative reviews, and the better product experience that you're delivering to a customer, the higher the proportion of positive reviews. So
could you talk a little bit more about your advertising strategy on Amazon, and again, if you could just touch upon some of the best practices and some things to be careful of, while running ads on Amazon?
Sure. Yeah. So big thing for, advertising on Amazon, is you got to look at what your goal is. So the biggest thing on Amazon is, there's a lot of fees. And so when it comes to advertising, you really have to look at, what is the true cost and what is your true profitability before advertising? Because there's the cost of goods sold, but there's inbound fees to get that product to Amazon. There's a fulfillment fee. There's a referral fee. There are tons of fees in Amazon, overstock fees and warehousing fees, and oh my gosh, the list goes on and on and on. And it seems like every single quarter they're introducing a new fee. By and large, the last time I checked, I think it's around they'll take 35 or 40%, which is funny because it's almost like a retail relationship. If you go and work with a retailer, they'll want 35 to 40 points. Amazon's the exact same way. They're going to take their 35 to 40 points. So you have to be careful because when you advertise, it's not like a direct-to-consumer channel, right? The direct-to-consumer channel, you're getting the full MSRP. However, on Amazon, it's almost like you're selling wholesale. So just know your cost profile really well. That's the first place to start, and know what your cost per acquisition can be per unit. It's a unit-based game, right? So you have to know I can spend advertising this product like $28, but if I spend $29, I lost money. So know that. That's the big first thing. Second thing, find those keywords. Go grab 100 keywords that you think are going to work. Put some money behind all of them. See what converts. And then be really ruthless about turning off the keywords that aren't working and putting more money behind the keywords that are working. And then go and do that a few times to try and curate a list of keywords that are performant for your product. I would say there's defensive campaigns that you can run, and there's offensive campaigns that you can run. You can definitely try that as well. So an offensive campaign looks like, we're Santevia, we're a mineralized water filter. People may also be shopping for Brita. when they're in market for a water filter. So we might start to advertise on Brita, some Brita keywords. That's a branded keyword, so it's going to be probably pretty expensive, but it might be profitable for us. So I would go find some of your competitors, buy some of those keywords, and see if you can be offensive in that way, and then inversely be defensive. So buy your own branded keywords. So we'll buy Santevia and bid really high on them too. So if there's a competitor, if Brita came to us and started buying our keyword, I want to make them pay. Like I really do. So I want that keyword to cost them like $10, and so I'm going to bid that way up. So those are some of the things that I would do. Cost profiling is definitely the first thing that you have to do. You got to be profitable. That's the key thing. If you're not profitable, then Amazon's not going to work for you, right? Yeah, being profitable on Amazon. Don't rely on lifetime value. Like you might think that you're selling a product and like this first purchase will cost us money, but we'll make the money back when the customer comes back to us for that second purchase, third purchase. I'd say tread carefully with stuff like that. Make sure that you make money on every sale. And Amazon's just like totally honest. Amazon's becoming a harder place to really make money, just because they have those increasing fees and there's more and more competition, and you're getting these vertically integrated overseas manufacturers. Like let's say you sell a t-shirt or something, and it's a cool t-shirt. If you don't have a really strong brand for that t-shirt, then you're just going to be the same as every other company that sells a t-shirt. But you're buying it from a manufacturer, and that manufacturer is making a profit off of you. Whereas there's another manufacturer based in Vietnam who's manufacturing that t-shirt and selling it directly to Amazon, or consigning it directly to Amazon, right? And they only need to make their profit once. They don't need to make it. There doesn't have to be two profits in there. Essentially, they're the manufacturer making profit selling it to you, and you making a profit selling it to the customer through Amazon. So just be careful about that. It's all about branding. You got to make sure that you have a strong brand.
And lastly, based on your own experience, what advice would you give some of the founders that are looking to launch their own DTC business or get onto Amazon?
Keep learning. I think it's a fast moving spot. E-commerce, it's a tough one. But if you get it right, it can be really, really cool. Know your costs, create a brand, differentiate, I think is a big thing. Don't launch like another candy company. Find out why your candy company is like way different and the best. Because everything is margin hungry, from your email management system to Amazon to Shopify to, everything is going to take a little piece of the pie. And so you have to be able to command and set price. So that's super key. And then just stick with it. Consistency is huge. You'll build a customer base over time. There's no such thing as like get rich quick. For every, 10,000 people who got rich, like maybe one got rich quick. Like it doesn't really happen. Like Santevia has been a brand for, coming up on 2 decades here. And it takes a lot of time in market, showing up for your customers, creating that good experience year after year after year. Because even today, we advertise on Meta and we advertise on Amazon, but you know what our number one customer acquisition channel is today? It's word of mouth. So when we do surveys and we ask people, hey, how did you hear about Santevia? It's word of mouth is number one. So if you create a good product experience, people will talk about it. They'll get their friends to buy it, and you'll be set up for success. So just know about that, especially as you're starting out. That you might have a customer service case, and that person wants to return something, and it's frustrating, or you're not quite sure if they're telling the truth or whatever. it's a cost of doing business. Take the return, and ensure that person has a good customer experience, because they could come back. And for sure, if they don't come back and they have a bad customer experience, they might talk about it. So at least try and create a customer service experience that was respectable.
Great, Matthew. Thank you so much for doing this. It's been a very insightful episode. I think there's a lot for our audience to take away from you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Cool. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.